Presenting petitions, the honourable member for Sherwood Park, Fort Saskatchewan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'm going to be tabling a mere 3 petitions today. The first petition deals with the issue of sex selection abortion. Petitioners note that this is an issue on which there could be, I think, a wide consensus in Parliament. Certainly there is among Canadians. It calls for measures by the House of Commons that would address and seek to stop the practice of sex-selective abortion. The second petition is with respect to legislative initiatives dealing with forced organ harvesting and trafficking. Petitioners would like to see it made a criminal offence for a Canadian to go abroad to receive an organ that was taken without consent. We know that this is an issue in China and in other places where organs are taken forcibly, sometimes from political prisoners, sometimes through exploitation, and petitioners want to see Canada stand up and be counted with respect to combating organ harvesting and trafficking. The third petition deals with the human rights situation of Uyghur Muslims in China who face horrific abuses in modern-day concentration camps. Petitioners call on this government to recognize that Uyghurs in China have been and are being subject to genocide and recognizing the responsibility to protect that flows from recognition of genocide. The petition also calls on the government to use the Magnitsky Act to sanction and hold accountable those who have been responsible and are responsible in an ongoing way for these horrific crimes being perpetrated against the Uyghur people. Thank you.
Before continuing, I want to thank the honourable member for being concise and precise. Thank you.
Channel Report.
I want to present petition E-2814 on behalf of 1,800 plus Canadians who signed this petition. As you know, Mr. Speaker, and as my colleague just stated, we have the Falun Gong practitioners who have been outlawed in China. They've been targeted by China's Communist Party for organ harvesting, for persecution because of their religious beliefs. And we know that Falun Gong is very peaceful discipline and centers on the principles of truth, compassion, and tolerance. Now, as you know, Mr. Speaker, I sponsored the Justice for Victims of Corrupt Foreign Officials Act, the Sergei Magnitsky law that provides the government with the tools to sanction individuals. There are 14 specific Chinese officials that are named in this petition, Mr. Speaker, that we'd like to see targeted with Magnitsky sanctions by the government of Canada for the detention, persecution, execution, and organ harvesting of Falun Gong practitioners for the past 21 years.
Presenting petitions, présentation de pétitions, the honourable member for Calgary Shepherd.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My constituents reminded me that an unkept promise leads to a bad life, which is a Yiddish proverb. I have 3 petitions to table on behalf of my constituents today. The first one is on equalization. Petitioners in my riding are drawing attention to the Government of Canada to the unfairness inherent in the equalization system. 54 have signed it. Secondly, petitioners in my riding, 53 of them, are calling on the Government of Canada and the citizens of Canada, House of Commons, to pass a criminal code prohibition on sex-selective abortions. They're drawing attention to the House that sex-selection abortion is legal, as Canada has no legal restrictions on abortion. They're also drawing attention to the House that Canada's healthcare profession recognizes sex selection and abortion as a problem. Lastly, 36 petitioners are asking that the Government of Canada honor Sergeant Tommy Prince and put him on the $5 currency bill that the Bank of Canada is currently reviewing, thus honoring a very important Indigenous war veteran. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Petitions, présentation de pétitions, the honourable member for Lethbridge.
Mr. Speaker, I rise on behalf of my constituents and Canadians from coast to coast who have put forward this petition calling on the government to prohibit sex-selective abortion. They do so on the basis that this is antithetical to Canada's commitment to equality between men and women, and that there are organizations around the world, including the World Health Organization, United Nations Women, and United Nations Children's Fund, that have identified unequal sex ratios at birth as a growing problem. They are calling for action from this current government.
Presenting petitions, the honourable member for Nanaimo Ladysmith.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's an honour to present Petition E2565. It's got 2,686 signatures on it, and it calls upon the Government of Canada to request that Israel immediately lift the blockade on Gaza to enable medical and humanitarian aid during the COVID-19 pandemic, and insist that Israel permanently end its blockade of Gaza and vote at the UN General Assembly in alignment with the majority of international community taking a stance in line with international law and human rights for Palestinians. Thank you.
Presenting petitions, the honourable member for New Brunswick Southwest.
Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to rise today and present e-petition 2652, signed by over 700 Canadians in support of Campobello and its island residents. I'd be remiss if I did not mention and thank Justin Tinker and his advocacy committee for this proposal. The petitioners point out that in recent years, the economic and personal losses owing to accessibility issues for residents traveling to and from their homes on this New Brunswick island in the Bay of Fundy. You see, the only way to access Campobello Island for most of the year is by exiting Canada, driving to the state of Maine for almost an hour, and crossing back into Canada on a bridge to Campobello. Each time a family or business does this, they pass and are inspected at U.S. Customs and again at Canadian Customs. This petition calls on the federal government to adopt a Team Canada approach and facilitate a permanent solution that allows Campobello residents to access the rest of New Brunswick without having to travel through or in the United States, something that every other Canadian from coast to coast takes for granted every single day, whether they're traveling within their provinces or traveling across this magnificent country. The federal government can do this by working with the province to secure a ferry vessel that provides year-round service. Campobello residents aren't asking for special treatment, Mr. Speaker. My riding has 3 other beautiful islands, Deer Island, Whitehead Island, and Grand Manan, which all have ferry service within New Brunswick. It's time similar treatment was extended to the great people of Campobello. Thank you.